Greetings everyone and welcome. I'm so glad you're here joining me today. For today's video, I wanted to challenge myself to look around my home, see what I already had on hand, and try to create something new from it. So I looked around and I found some wood and some rope, and I created this DIY hanging macrame blanket ladder that you see here behind me. I'm going to show you the technique and how I did it, materials I used, but I want to challenge you to stay home, look around, see what you already have on hand, and try to create something new for yourself. So let me know down in the comments what you end up coming up with. Also, don't forget to give me a thumbs up while you're there and subscribe to my channel to see more projects from me. So let's jump into this. So as far as supplies go, the list is pretty short. You're going to want to have some kind of wood, and what I have on hand are these 1x2s. This is what they look like unfinished, but most of the pieces that I have are from a project a few years ago, and I believe they have a walnut stain and polyacrylic finish. And so that's what I'm going to be using for this project. You're also going to want to have something to cut the wood with, and so I've just got a simple hand saw out in the garage that I'll be cutting mine with. You'll also want to have some kind of rope, and what I have here is cotton clothesline. This is just something that I had on hand that I bought from Amazon years ago, and I think this is actually going to work out pretty good because if it's clothesline, I'm thinking it should be able to hold the weight of the blankets, no problem, since it's designed to hold wet clothing. So I've got that. You're also going to want scissors to cut the rope. You will need a drill with a bit that is slightly bigger than the diameter of the rope. And while you're working on this, make sure you've got one of your blankets on hand so that you can fold it and lay it on the piece of wood so that you can get an idea of how wide you're going to want to custom cut your wood so that your blankets fit on it perfectly. So let's jump into measuring out the wood. The first thing we'll need to do is determine where to cut our pieces of wood, and I figured the easiest way to do that was to just lay one of the folded blankets on it and then leaving a couple of inches on either end, mark the line, and then cut the 3 pieces of wood to that length. Next, we're going to drill 2 holes on either end of each of those 3 pieces of wood. Here I'm just moving the pieces of wood so that I can visualize how far each of the pieces are going to hang from one another. And then to figure out how much string I need, I'm just measuring the distance between those pieces of wood 3 times, and then I'm measuring once again from the one piece of wood on the end to the center of the one above it. And then I fold that in half and then cut the length of the string so that that length is doubled. The next length of string will need to be 3 times the length of the first one we cut. Then, using those 2 lengths of rope as a guide, cut 2 more lengths of rope the same lengths. Fold one of the shorter lengths of rope as well as one of the longer lengths of rope in half and match up those middle points. Put the longer rope around the shorter rope. Then, using a lark's head knot, attach it to the wood ring. And repeat the process with the other 2 lengths of rope. Next, we're going to tie square knots to fill in the space in between the wood ring and the first piece of wood. To create a square knot, you're going to want to make sure your shorter strings are in the middle of the 2 longer strings. Wrap your left longer string over those 2 middle strings, and then take your right string, cross it over that left string, then behind the 2 middle strings and in the loop that the left string has made on the left side. Pull that string through the loop and then pull the 2 longer strings until they have pulled tight around the middle 2 strings. To continue making square knots, we're going to repeat the process starting with the right string this time. Bring it over the 2 center strings, take the left string, cross it over, bring it behind the middle, and then pull it through the loop. And then pull until it is tight around the middle strings again. Continue repeating this process, alternating starting with the left and starting with the right. Keep knotting until the string is covered enough to reach the ring to the first piece of wood. Once we've done that on both sides, we're then going to take the center shorter strings and thread them in the 2 holes we've drilled into the piece of wood on either side. Then wrap the longer pieces of rope behind the piece of wood. We're going to secure this piece of wood by pulling all 4 strings tight and then securing it in place with 2 square knots. Repeat the same process on the other side. Then to attach the next level of our ladder, we're going to continue tying square knots until we reach the distance in between the 2 pieces of wood that we want. We're going to attach this piece of wood the same way we attached the first piece. We're going to take those center shorter strings and thread them into the holes that we drilled into the ends. And then we're going to take the 2 longer strings, bringing them behind the piece of wood and securing it in place with 2 square knots. Repeat this process again to attach the 3rd and final piece of wood. With the remaining string, we're going to do something a little different. We're going to do half square knots, which means we're going to pull from the same side instead of alternating each knot. What's going to happen is the knots are going to start to create a spinning pattern instead of laying flat like our other knots did. At the end of our spinning half square knot, use an overhand knot to tie everything off, and then cut the strings to the same length. For further decorative effect, use the scissors to loosen the braids to fray the ends of the strings. And then it's ready to hang.